The Eagles just drafted Jihad Campbell. Yup, yup, yup. I ain't gonna lie. When I heard the pick, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised in terms of I doubt Jihad's ability. I was surprised at Howie Roseman looking at linebacker because historically, Howie Roseman in the first round has never seriously valued the linebacker position. Never mind the first round, the second round, the third round. I mean, this is the first off-ball linebacker the Eagles drafted in the first round since 1979. So yeah, it's a good reason to be surprised, to be shocked. But I'm here to tell you now, if you're an Eagles fan and you're thinking, man, oh man, why did we not get Donovan Ezeraku, Mike Green, Nick, the Bull from South Carolina? Let me tell you this. The Eagles are making a conscious decision, and Howie Roseman is making a conscious decision to say, I'm going to evolve. You got to think about this, bro. In any job, in any profession that you have, if you do not evolve, you will not survive. Howie Roseman historically did not value the running back position. He let Miles Sanders go. He let DeAndre Swift go. But guess what? When Saquon Barkley became available, he paid that check. Oh, historically, the Eagles did not draft a cornerback, never mind in back-to-back drafts, the first and second round. That wasn't Howie's thing, because he drafts in the trenches all the time. Well, last year, Howie said, no, I'm going to go out here and get some cornerbacks that will build this secondary, that will actually transform this secondary from being 31st in the league to number 1 in the league. And he gets Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. That's called evolving. What we say again, when Howie Roseman signed Saquon Barkley, a move that folks did not think Howie would do, that's called evolving. And so when Howie sees Zach Bond have himself an all-time year for the Eagles and put himself in the conversation to be a defensive player of the year candidate, and he goes out here, pays him $50 million, that's called evolving. And what's better yet, you do realize Zach Bond is going to be mentoring Jihad Campbell. That's a pretty good mentor to have. A guy that had a pick in the Super Bowl, who's coming off an all-pro season, and was a defensive player of the year candidate. You want to know who else is mentoring Jihad Campbell, who I know will mentor Jihad Campbell? Nakobe Dean. He's a proven leader. He wore that green dot. So looking at this, and I'm saying the Eagles are putting Jihad Campbell in the best situation for him to fulfill his full potential. Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Vic Fangio, Bobby King, the linebacker coach, all of these pieces together will help Jihad Campbell reach his full potential. Best case scenario is that you got Zach Bond, you got Jihad Campbell as your linebacker duo going into the season. And then Nakobe Dean heals up. And now you got hella depth at linebacker. And I think it was clear as day how valuable the linebacker position is. And seeing the effect that Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean had when he was healthy with the secondary, it transformed this defense. Because I'm not trying to shade these guys, but when we saw Shaq Leonard, we saw Nicholas Morrow at the linebacker spot in 2023, it legit gave me nightmares. So now we're in a new era where that's not going to be an issue, depth at linebacker. And I didn't even mention Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who I believe will still have a really good career with the Eagles. It's destiny. It's legacy. Shout out Pops. So I'll be honest, when Walter Nolan got taken, when James Pierce Jr. got taken, the Falcons, they went crazy. I ain't gonna lie. When Malachi Starks got taken by the Ravens, why are y'all doing that? Y'all got Kyle Hamilton. But it was a good pick. It was a really good pick. I was hurt. I was. And I believe that the Eagles were trying to trade with the Chargers to get Malachi Starks. I believe that. I'm always going to believe that. They were saying they wanted to trade up for Jihad Campbell. I don't know about that. I don't know if you trade up for a guy that you didn't have a top 30 visit with. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm buying that. I'm going to put my journalism cap on and I'm going to say, yeah, that's probably PR working overtime. This not to say that Jihaad ain't going to be nice. It's just saying, I don't know if I buy that they were trying to trade up for Jihad Campbell the whole entire time before the Ravens drafted Malachi Starks. I just don't know. Or even before the Falcons got James Pierce Jr. Like, I just simply don't really buy that. And if you're an Eagles fan, I hope you don't buy that. That's PR working. But that don't really matter, bruh. Jihad Campbell is a freak athlete. Freak athlete. And one thing that Howie does is he measures athleticism by this thing called relative athletic score, aka RAS. And it essentially is a advanced measurement tool from a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being that guy ain't that freakish of an athlete, and 10 being the guy is a freak athlete. It measures the combine, pro days, and it simplifies it all. So let me show you this. Let me show you this. This guy, Jihad Campbell, has a RAS score of 9.88. Y'all, Jihad Campbell, from a scale from 0 to 10, has a RAS score of 9.88. Just for some context, since 2020, the Eagles selected 40 total players in the NFL draft. 25 of those players had a RAS of at least 8. That equates to 62% of their total picks over the last 5 drafts. Since 2022, this is when Howie started really cooking. The Eagles selected 21 total players in the draft, with 17 of them having an RAS score of 8 or above. That's a staggering 80.9% of Philly draft picks with a RAS of over 8. some guys that had incredible RAS scores, none other than Jalix Hunt, none other than Nolan Smith, none other than Jalen Carter. You see the type of things that we talking about, how he's cooking. And so in terms of being able to cover the whole entire field, Jihad Campbell can do that. He can flat out do that. And here's the thing too. Jalen Reagor had a RAS of around 5. We know how he panned out. So clearly for the Eagles, there is some correlation to if you have a high RAS score, you're going to be nice. And so when you mix Jihad Campbell having a 9.88 RAS score, when you mix him being mentored by Nakobe Dean, a proven leader, and Zach Bond, a proven leader, that bald eagle, and you mix in the coaching of Vic Fangio and Bobby King, the linebacker coach, who had sensational seasons, the Eagles are putting Jihad Campbell in the best scenario to succeed. And here is something better. You know, Jihad Campbell grew up being an Eagles fan. He did. He's from South Jersey, and I think we can say, if you're from South Jersey, you really an Eagles fan. That's what it is. You're pretty much an Eagles fan. And so this is what Jihad Campbell said when the Eagles drafted Devontae Smith in 2021. That's what we needed. He just like me. He just like me. Because I was dancing. Oh, what? Ooh, I was doing it all, bruh, when we drafted Devontae freaking Smith. And so it's a full circle moment that Jihad Campbell, who's an Eagles fan, I know we ain't get Abdul Carter, and he's got to be a Giants guy now. I'm cool because we got Jihad Campbell, who's out here a real deal Eagles fan, that's going to be teammates with the guy that he called it, like a lot of us did, and said Devontae Smith, Smitty is going to be him. Don't you love that? Don't you love that? I love it. And speaking of the Giants, something else I love, and I saw this. Remember when Jihad Campbell knocked the freaking snot out of Jackson Dart? And let me say this, Giants, I love y'all and I appreciate y'all because you continue to be an incompetent franchise. You cannot seriously watch the game of football and say to yourself, Jackson Dart is a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. If you want to say potential, he could be better, I don't buy it. There's no film that supports that. But I'm just like, all right, bruh. But right now, who is a better quarterback? It's Shedeur Sanders. And when the Giants traded up, I was thinking to myself, oh, man, they about to get Shedeur. They got Shedeur. You got Abdul Carter. And that's a pretty damn good first round. But what the Giants did, they allowed the media. And what happens? It's these certain type of quarterbacks that leading up to the draft, suddenly their stock rises up. How does your stock rise up and you aren't playing games? How is that possible? How does your stock rise up and you didn't play an extra snap of football? Explain to me this. Explain to me this. How the hell can Shedeur Sanders go from a consensus top five pick a month ago to being out of the first round. And he didn't play. Like, I could see, like, all right, like, he had a couple of bad games heading into the, off season. Like, I could see, all right, you know what? Maybe it was some games at the end of the season, but it doesn't make sense that a guy goes from top 5 to out the first round. He led college football in completion percentage with no run game and a terrible offensive line. And somehow the Giants looked at that and they say, we'd rather have Jackson Dart, who at Ole Miss had everything Shedeur didn't have. A great O-line and a damn good wide receiving core. He had it all. And Shedeur has Travis Hunter, but that's one guy. That's one guy. So it's laughable. And this whole Shedeur thing just tells me is that these head coaches are scared that Deion Sanders is going to take their job. That's what it is. They're scared. Kellen Moore, who doesn't have a quarterback, picked an offensive lineman. Who is that offensive lineman going to protect? Spencer Rattler? Like, are we actually serious? Kellen Moore's afraid that if they take in Shedeur Sanders and they don't have a good first year, it's going to be folks saying, Deion, go to the NFL, coach your son. It's several teams that probably think that. Hell, I want my job to be safe. I don't want them problems. Whether it's right or wrong, that's what they're feeling. And it's a shame because then they're going to make up narratives to hide their insecurities, and they'll say, well, Shedeur has a bad attitude, or he had a bad interview, or he's too cocky, he's too arrogant. Oh, we don't think that he fits our culture. They're going to say all of those things. That is BS because in reality, they really are just scared of Deion Sanders taking their job. And that's the facts. Because again, you cannot watch tape of college football and say to yourself, oh, Shedeur Sanders ain't like that. Ain't like that. This not a Bronny situation. Everywhere Shedeur has been, he has transformed the program. You can attribute it to Deion. You can for damn sure attribute it to Travis Hunter. But what you can't do is say that Shedeur had nothing to do with it. Because he clearly did. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Another thing, too. Talk about the Cowboys. You delusional Cowboys fans make me laugh. Make me chuckle. Because you're trying to convince yourself that drafting a guard in the first round was the right option. You had Matthew Golden right there. You said, nah, I'm cool. Are we serious? I love it. I love it. And I think Jerry Jones is a fine old man. Wait, that was a that was a crazy pause. I really like Jerry Jones. I'll say it like that. I really like Jerry Jones. I hope Jerry Jones lives till he's 100. It was funny seeing Brian Schottenheimer get up, dap up everybody like they traded up to get Travis Hunter. Like, I get the Jags being hype. I get that. You're jumping up and down and dapping up everybody for getting Tyler Booker. Bruh, who's your wide receiver 2? Jalen Turpin, I love it because you can think that Tyler Booker is the best guard in the class. Guess what? He's no match for Jalen Carter. And he can only block for so long when you got wide receivers that they can't separate. So again, I'm looking at Jerry Jones. I'm looking at Joe Shane. I'm looking at the Cowboys and the Giants. And I'm thinking to myself, man, oh man, we are lucky to have Howie freaking Roseman. Because he is not incompetent like those fools are. Like those fools are. Telling me taking Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders because you are just insecure because you think that Deion Sanders is going to take your job. Well, maybe he should. Because your incompetence led you to this point. Or you got the Commanders. I cannot believe the Commanders didn't take Josh Simmons. And they let the Chiefs take Josh Simmons. What is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with y'all? You picked the wrong Josh. You did. Josh Simmons, if he didn't get injured, would have been a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. And of course, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, who desperately needed an offensive tackle, they got one. Because the Commanders wanted to be different and wanted to go against the grain. What's wrong with y'all? So again, a whole lot to talk about, a whole lot to just unpack. And we're going to talk about it all tomorrow, next week. My birthday is, I guess, at the time of this recording tomorrow. So it'll be the 26th. So I appreciate y'all. Show some love. Really, really do appreciate y'all. And this is something that we're going to look back on and say, man, oh man, how did Jihad Campbell land at 31? He got some a shoulder injury. It's reported that he will be there for training camp. So we got to cross our fingers for that. But you got a guy who grew up an Eagles fan. You got a freak athlete. And then you're pairing him up with Zach Bond coming off a career year and letting him get coached by Vic freaking Fangio. Man, oh man, we got ourselves one. I love y'all, appreciate y'all, and the second round is going to be great. Mason Taylor, Nick from South Carolina, I forget his last name, Donovan Ezaraku, I think I butchered his name. It's some guys, Kevin Winston Jr. We got some guys. I think we should draft a safety just to get some competition for Sidney Brown. But this is a good John. This is a good John. And we got so much more to talk about. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. It is Real Talking Miles Johnson, where y'all know I always keep it real. I'm out, y'all.